Hey, hello everybody. Okay, so this is going to be different. This is going to be very different. I noticed that my Space Engine videos got 1,000 views and then the other one before that got 1.3k. So I'm back in Space Engine. However, as you can notice by the title by now, I am an 18-year-old high schooler and I am going to go through every stellar classification, every star class, every spectral class of stars, from brown dwarfs at Y to the mightiest and brightest of the O-types. I do not have a script. I do not have a web browser. This is my own knowledge base on what I know. And I'll be using the Space Engine game as a way to go through the map because this game gets so much stuff right. Starting off at the very, very bottom of the list, we have the brown dwarfs. We have 3 brown dwarf types. There are Ys, Ts, and Ls. As far as I know, there are the Y and Ts. The Y and Ts are just extremely low mass as for stellar properties. The Ls can fuse deuterium just a little bit, so yeah, not as far as I know. The Ys are where we start. This is what a Y types look like in real life anyway, because they are so cold and so low mass for an object to be generating heat that they would appear solid black. That's as far as I know. And here, I mean, this example is a Y0V, and Y0V would be the absolute maximum level by 0.0, the maximum level that a Y-type star could achieve in reality. And even then, it is solid black, as you can see. These auroras would be coming from the light scattering off of other stars that are close, or maybe its own internal heating. I don't know. This example in the game has 5 planets, I can suppose, because it is a lone. Meaning the planets have auroras, which is a little bit wonky. I don't think that's very realistic. Based on what I know, just off my head, I don't think planets would be shining bright auroras. White type. Okay. Brown dwarfs are pretty meh. Let's go to T. I'm going to start at T9 because T9 is the bottom of scale. I want to show how to get brighter. So if you look at a T9, here's a T type. This is the middle of the brown dwarf matter. A T, they get a little bigger. I mean, this one is 19 Jupiters in mass. See up there, 19.985 mass Jupiter symbol. A T9.5 would be the lowest level because the closer to 10, the lower you are. You'd have a T9.9, and you just take off a few degrees, and that would cross over to be a Y0. So a T9.5 is just a tad bit brighter than the minimum. It is still solid black. There is no light coming off of you. The temperature has risen. It is now 725 kelvins. It's getting a little hotter. Should be able, I know US astronomers watching, if anybody, will know that Kelvin is preferable. For everybody else, I would like to see in Fahrenheit. Okay, 845 degrees. So even though it's black, it will melt. I think that'll melt lead. I think that'll melt gold. I don't think gold is a very high melting point. Lead and gold. I know Venus is around 800 degrees, so that's about as hot as Venus. But still, it's not emitting light. Now, if we step it up a notch, let's go to like a T7. Let's go to a T7. Let's see. Now, a T7, look, it's still black, but did you see that? Yeah, I saw it too. That's probably infrared light coming off of you. Okay, T7. So we're going up, but it's still solid black. But this guy's 1,000 degrees. Now let's go to T. T point at 2. T not point 2. Now, isn't that a change? Look at the bands here. These bands signify that it really is like a gas giant, more like a mega gas giant. This example here is 57 Jupiters. This is a large boy, as they say. And I see a planet. That's a cold mini Neptune. How's it going, friend? Yeah. You're not getting much light, are you? However, it's still bright enough to cast a dim glow. This guy is gonna obviously cool down over its time, so it's lucky to even be emitting any light at all. But just like a gas giant, there are bands. Let's turn down the exposure. Let's turn up the exposure. We're dealing with brown dwarf here. So look at how you can see those bands. Those bands of a gas giant. So it really is just a massive gas giant. And the pressure of that 57 Jupiters of mass is crushing in, causing heat. You know, Jupiter rains liquid diamonds. That's hot in there. It's 10,000 degrees. This must be 50,000, 60,000, 100,000. So it is glowing, but it's not fusing. I know that for sure. It's not fusing. Not fusing. A T00 would be the same deal. But this guy's 2100 degrees. It's very bright for a T-type. It's casting a shadow, and it can keep planets that are nearby lit up. But even this one here, with 1.4 atmospheres of pressure and a nitrogen carbon monoxide atmosphere, does not seem to have any insulation going on here. Let me see. Okay, I'll look at the climate here. So we got an effective temperature of -281. That's going to kill you instantly, but not before the nitrogen and lack of oxygen will kill you. For the let's see, what's the wind? Funny. So there are probably examples of T-types, planets that are warm. Like, see, this one's just cold. This T-type, because it has a thick atmosphere, it's not a thick atmosphere at all. Let's try this. Let's go here. How's that? Okay, so if we go here, check this guy out. No, this guy. Okay, here's a cool one. This guy has 71 atmospheres. That's almost up to Venus level. I think Venus is around 80 to 90, if I remember correctly. So this thing has a lot of pressure. It's 71 times as much air in the atmosphere, pressing down, capturing it. And since its atmosphere is CO2, its seas are CO2, it is keeping that heat up. Even then, it's still negative 35 degrees. Now, at least you could survive in that if you had a jacket on and a space suit, because you can't breathe it, and you'd actually probably get crushed very quickly by the pressure. But it just shows that brown dwarfs can house systems where planets might have semi-hospitable temperature. I think 35 under is pretty hospitable. So let's move on to L's. We need to keep moving here. So we have an L type star. Let's actually get ourselves a temperate world if possible here. Okay. So yikes. So L-type stars, they can actually, if they just formed, they can actually shine as bright as a red dwarf in some cases. I mean, just look at it. Where's the bands? They're gone. There's actually sunspots in this guy. This guy has the kaleidoscope-looking tile appearance that you can see on a star. It has a stellar wind like a star. This won't last very long. Astronomically, it won't last very long. I mean, just look at its age. It's only times 10 to the 6. Yeah, it's not very old. I don't think so, anyway. But this sucker is still 59 Jupiters, so I don't know how, but it's held on to its fusion. It's possible that T-type we saw earlier that was also around 59 Jupiters was much older, and it had already spent its heat. This guy is shining bright, and in fact actually can be as white as even the sun. I don't know if this is astronomically correct. I'm going to lean on the side of no. But in the game, it can be as bright and white as probably a mid-range K-type. Interesting. It's a little yellow. Interesting. I mean, look at this. This planet was an example of why brown dwarfs are a good place, because brown dwarfs could be formed at the death of the universe by dead stars colliding, or even brown dwarfs colliding and forming red dwarfs. We'll get to red dwarfs. Now, this planet is a super ocean, and it would kill you instantly. The atmosphere would absolutely eviscerate you instantly. The temperature is pretty hot. But let's show that if we've wandered by here in the 34th century, I guess, 37th century, we had the technology to withstand that atmosphere, we could build a base. What is this, Subnautica? So there's an L-type star. As you can see, the brightness has gone up significantly. Now, if we go look at an L9, now an L9 actually has the bands of a gas giant, but an L9 is still much brighter. Now, see, there's L9, but like once you step to this, let's check out an L6.5. Now, an L6.5, look at the bands. The bands are disappearing. They're not swirling around. They're getting splotted. In fact, if you look at it, you can make out the shape of those tile shapes. So as you get hotter, the tiles are going to get smaller. I don't know why it does that in the game, but look here. There's that turtle shell looking shape. So let's go to an L4. Sorry, an L4. Now look at an L4. See how the tiles are becoming more pronounced? Now let's look at an L2. The tiles now. See? We're getting brighter and brighter. This is how you understand how a star works. At the star Dennis P 21435, you see probably as far up as a star bit brightness. Are you a real object? You probably are. No, not him. Talking about you. So, are you real? You are real object. Dennis P. There we go. Dennis P. Now, it's time to get into the star club, but before I'm done, I actually really like brown dwarfs, so I'm sorry, I'm going to talk about it a little more. These suckers can fuse deuterium. It's not hydrogen, but they can fuse. There's even, I'm surprised I still know this, there are even such types of L-type supergiants forming, where you have a star that cools down a lot, but gets really, really bloated, and it can actually be as cool as an L-type. So you have an L-type, that'd be so funny. So you have like an L0 triple Roman numeral, L0 Roman numeral 3, L0 Roman numeral 2. That actually would be a giant, bright giant. So like an L6 Roman numeral 1A plus. That would be a luminous supergiant. A stretch. There we go. Now once you get to M, it's worth noting that M's can actually a red dwarf can be classified as an L very early on as it's still forming. So let's go to an M9. Does it look much different than an L-type? Absolutely. So this sucker is much more condensed in the tiles. The sunspots are there, and it's brighter. And this one can support a planetary system, and it will keep fusing for trillions of years. Even so that this boy here with 304 atmospheres, which will absolutely instantly eviscerate your bones, this guy can remain hot if you call 0.02 F hot. Actually, I'd call that quite chilly. But it is an M9. Now look at an MO. Let's go to an M. White light. Is this the sun? No, but it's getting. Look at this. You can see the sunspots have gotten smaller now. All of the astral belt is glowing white. It's a black light. This is a very hot star. Or the M type. But this is also a real object. Let's go. Anybody with the Hipparchus catalog? Alright, so this is this warm terrain. This sucker actually has a pretty thin atmosphere. And by pretty thin, I mean disastrously thin atmosphere. And it is nice and close to its star, and it is going to kill you instantly. But you fell for that one, didn't you? Look at this one. 86 to 88 degrees. You could survive just fine on this planet. You just might need a spacesuit because 0.1 atmospheres. It sucks. That's like Mount Everest, isn't it? No, it's higher. Okay, so M-types are one of my favorites as well because they're just, well, actually, honestly, no. M-types actually don't really hold a place in my heart that much because they're just kind of everywhere and they're just going to outlive everything. And that is cool as heck being like an underdog, failed star. Big boy O-type. Big daddy O-type will get to you. But they deserve their place in my video. K-types are lovely because K-types are the orange dwarfs, even though they're not orange in any way, shape, or form. I did not want to go to a red giant. This is a yellow dwarf. I mean an orange dwarf, even though it's not orange. Screw you, astronomers, for making these damn misnomers. Okay, so this is an orange dwarf. This sucker is a mass of 1.24 solar masses. That is not correct. I don't think a star of 1.249 solar masses and 8,600 degrees Fahrenheit would be a K1V. But since it's a real object, kind of stupidity they've gotten themselves into. Okay. So let's just ignore planets for now. I want to find the brightest K-type star we can. Let's go far away. If you call 200 light years far from my world, here's a KO. Okay, this is wrong. Why is there a 33 luminosity? We need to go to let's go 3,000 light years away. Okay, let's try this again. Yeah, okay, you know what? Let's go to a different galaxy here because I am not the deal with the catalog stars. Weird today. Alright, let's go to the outer one here. Okay, so in this system, it's a no type star. We're not getting there yet. So here's a KO. This is generated. So this one has a crack mass. This is a mass of 0.84. That sounds about right for a KO. So you remember that even though they're smaller than the sun, they're smaller, they're more common, they're less hot. I don't know why this man is 8,900 degrees, but yes, that's good. That's fine. They're still stars, people, and they will boil you alive. Look at this torrid Jupiter. This actually would be a super Jupiter. It's 2.3 Jupiter mass. Correct me if I'm wrong. This sucker has been torched to 1,300 degrees and is losing its gas layers in this space here. Okay. That is the K-type star. Ready to go see G? Oh wait, I wonder where G-type stars are. Right, we orbit one. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sol. Sun, our very white sun, our very not yellow, not red, not orange sun. If you post a comment saying the sun is yellow, I will personally hunt you down and do a empire of astrophysicists to bust down your door with an AA-12 and go ham. Look at it. So, sun, which is a yellow dwarf. yellow-white main sequence star because I think G9's gonna be a little low. But most of them are white. First on that is white. Is that white? Is that not white? Is that not extremely bleached for you? Okay. As we all know, the sun, being a G2, is like in the upper 80th percentile. It is like the top 20% of stars in brightness. This sucker burns at 9,900 degrees. Yes. 13 total bodies orbiting it. Okay. Millions of bodies. 13 notable bodies. Okay. That's wrong too. Listen, it says number of planets 13, but I consider it to be 9. These are the dwarfs back here. Okay. You haven't changed. Okay, so the sun is actually pretty rare as a G-type star. It's like, don't quote me on this, like 5% of all stars in the universe. Our galaxy. The sun is 1 solar mass. If we actually look for G-types, we may find that, for example, if we go to, really far away, let's go to the Tycho galaxy. Let's go really far away. The procedure-generated land. Will a G-type have the same location? Where's our stars at? There they are. No, because if you actually go to where 1.0 stars exist, you will find the closest ones are G5. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't think a G5.5 would have a luminosity of 1.001 the sun. Certainly not. Also, it is a little dimmer. I mean a little less hot. But even a G5, even a G9, let's see if you can get a G9, even a G9 is even half the luminosity. Look at it's a white star, especially from far. Right about here. That's white. Okay. Let's move on to one of my favorites. Because I like stars that are blindingly bleachy white and they just destroy your eyeballs. Even though it's actually the O-type. F-type stars. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the F-type star. The very upper end of F, I think like F0, I think they can get a very light blue tint. But these suckers can range up to about 1.8, 1.9, I think solar masses, they can get big. They get big. And with that increase in luminosity, there's an increase of stellar wind, and this boy is not going to support much good planets anymore. The ones that it does support, they're going to have thinner atmospheres, they're going to have more radiation blasted surfaces. The gas giants are the ones that are hanging on. I mean, this guy's holding on to 78 moons. And this is actually a binary system. You're a binary with a G3.9V, a V meaning main sequence. Weirdly, it's a G3.9, yet it has a luminosity of 1.2, a mass of 1.05. Yeah, I love this game. But as you can see, if we go look for, let's plug in a really big number here. Let's look for an F0.0. Can we get an F point out? There we go. Okay, here's an FO, F0. Let's see. See how that's that blue tint? You see that blue tint showing up? Come on. Let me see, is it right? See that blue tint? Let me just get that. No. Let's see if I can get that blue tint to show up. You might see it. It's kind of really hard to see F0. But as you can see, F0s, they go in a mass of 1.8. 1.8. I think that's where they stop. Now we go to A. A is, in my my head, I see A as kind of a weird middle child, even though they definitely have their place as the last star class to really be mostly white. Their later classes definitely take on a bluer tint. How about Class A for ow, like AOW, ow, my eyes. Class A stars can burn very hot. This example is 16,000 degrees and has a bluish tint and is AO. But it's also partnered with a very close binary F7 and the F7, even though it's only an F7 only. If we had an F7 in place of our star G2b, we would be cooked alive quickly. Let's find an AO, as close as we can get. Here's an A 0.7. See, there's that blue tint. The stellar winds on this thing will be blasting. I mean, this planet has been scorched. It is going to be burned apart. And even if you try, let's say if I put a temperate green Terra or an A-type star, there's one. And the one example we get is a guy being super far away from the star. 9 AUs away. That means astronomical unit distance from the Earth and the Sun. And it has to have a huge blanketing atmosphere. It's probably really thick to protect it from getting blasted apart. It also has a heavy mass of 1.8 to hold on to that atmosphere. A-type stars are really just not a good spot for this kind of stuff. What about you? Okay, you are... There, as you can see, just how bright an A-type is. These planets are not habitable at all. It is probably possible, I mean, it's when they're forming, the stellar wind will blast away the gas, and they won't have much material to form. So things that do form, they're not going to be life planets. Alright, let's move on. We have to find a B-type. Now it's going to get harder to find these suckers because B-types start getting really rare. It's like 0.01% of all stars. There's a Wolf-Rayet star right there. I wanted to save you. So let's see if I can find us a B-type star. Here's a B-type star. Let's go in the middle. Let's go like a B5. So a B5. B-type stars are where stuff starts getting a little bit wonky. These stars do not like planets forming around them, and it's pretty unrealistic to have them. Just a diverse planet system around just the killers that these things are. I mean, I understand you, because you're 51 AU, right? You, on the other hand, being 2.6 AU away and getting sandblasted at 2,666 degrees. Satan's planet over here. And it's also forming moons and having an atmosphere that thick. I just don't see it happening around B-type star because B-type stars are just so bright. They get blue. They get... I mean, this example is 26,000 degrees. The surface temperature of the sun is 10,000. This is double the sun. And plus some. It sounds actually like 9900. These are monsters. Absolute monsters. These B-type stars. This is only a B5. We find us a B2.4. Look at this monster. This is 36,000 degrees. This is where the temperature scale starts to grow quicker. Because once you hit B0, you're going to be at like 40,000 degrees. Even though O-types in astronomy are stated to start at 30,000 Kelvin. I don't know what Kelvin this is. Let's see. This is 20,680 stars, so we're pretty far off from O-type. I'd like to find us an O-type. I mean, a B-type again. Let's see if I can get us a B. There's a B1.9 clocking in at 22,340 Kelvin. Here's an example. I mean, that's a O type, so we can't go there yet. It's almost a no. Here's an A1. B2. Just give me a B0 and I'll be happy. I'll be happy. B8. What is this dark sorcery? A B9. Myself out of the galaxy here. That's a new galaxy to go to. I don't know if there's many B types here, but right now. Okay, a B1.2. Where's some of that? So this example, as you can see, look at the B5 right here at 15,120K, 5.684 solar masses. This one jumping up to 24,000 Kelvin and 8.9 solar masses. It actually is getting smaller. This could probably actually, because of the tugging, because these two stars are next to each other, their combined luminosity probably is an O-type of itself. These planets are very realistic because they're like hundreds of AU away, and it's funny is that with all that brightness, I mean, just look at that. You're still negative 213 degrees, and this sucker is negative. This sucker is actually positive 200. It's much farther away. I don't even want to know it. Looks like a Uranus glowing there. Let's do it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my second favorite star type. I'm absolutely joking with you. My second favorite star type is not O-type. But let's find us an O-type. Well, that was easy. Alright, here's an O3. This is the Titan of the star class system. No, it's not. And this is the hottest they get. No, it's not. And this is just the absolute pinnacle of star temperature and luminosity and output. I mean, just look at the rays coming out. Have you seen a Wolf-Rayet star? And I mean, an O3.5 is as high as some of these dudes get. This sucker is clocking in at 50,250 Kelvin and 63,000 times the mass of these. 63,000 times the brightness of the sun. These planets orbiting the sun just so wrong. Don't care if you're a mega Neptune, you should not have formed in the first place. That is an O-type star. You're not playing around anymore. O-type stars are absolutely terrifying because just they will light up nebulas like so easily, and you can see them from so far away. But as bright as O-type stars are, let me go back to you. As bright as O-type stars are, they're not the brightest type of star. They never will be the brightest type of star because what O-types turn into? Wow. That's something for a story that I'll tell you right now. After I find one. Oh, here's a good example. Wolf-Rayet star, Wolf-Rayet 102. Spectrum W02. This star is truly the pinnacle of the star class. WR102. It's everything to show. Just look at it. They're like tendrils climbing out of this thing. This thing is so ultimately bright. It is a brightness that can only be expressed in scientific notation 5.1051 times 10 to the 5th power. Temperature that can only be expressed in scientific notation 2.1 times 10 to the 5th power. 1600 G, 16 times the mass of the sun, and yet only half its diameter. This star, this Wolf-Rayet is my favorite. I mean, look at this W-4 here. It's not as hot, but it's still a wolf, right? It's 70,000 degrees. Look at this is a 9. So this is probably as low as they go, and they're still horrifically spinning fast, tearing themselves apart, blasting out winds that can nuke the Earth in probably just a few hours. Completely exterminate the human race. You are not a Wolf-Rayet star. You are a Wolf-Rayet star. So the difference. Look at how it is blasting through. And let's go to the B0 in this star. Well, B0 is no joke. Let's go. A B0 is no joke. But look at the output difference. Got this soft ray coming off it, and then over at the Wolf-Rayet star, you got this aggressive, spiky death game. So Wolf-Rayets are not their best star. I hope they're yours too. We can dab on red giants later. I'll probably make a video about the subclasses. We got Roman numeral 7 for white dwarfs, Roman numeral 6 for subdwarfs, Roman numeral 5 for main sequence, Roman numeral 4 for subgiants, Roman numeral 3 for giants, Roman numeral 2 for bright giants, Roman numeral 1 for super giants, Roman numeral 1A, probably Lumina supergiants. We got bright Lumina supergiants, Roman numeral 1A plus would be the hypergiant. You could also do just a 1, I think, just a 1, a solid 1, like GO space 1 in Roman numerals. The I at the end there. That sucker was no joke. Hypergiants are no joke. So that will end the video. I love space, and I don't know if she'll ever see this, but I recently started watching the astrophysicist Dr. Becky on YouTube, and I'm so inspired that this is a shout out. So inspired. I want to be an astrophysicist. I'm planning to go to Texas and go to university and study, become an astrophysicist, work for SpaceX, something like that. I'm only 18. I just know so much. Everything I just told you is something that I know on the top of my head. People in class. If there are 12th graders around me, I think the sun is orange. God, did you even look up? Don't look at the sun. I just want to become a space expert so bad, even though I pretty much already am in the mind. I just need to get the math in my head, the formulas, everything like that, but I just know so much space facts. I'm the walking encyclopedia, my teachers tell me. Yup, I sure am. I sure am. I also hope to make plenty of money doing that job so I can get my girlfriend a better life. A much better life. So to conclude that shout out for the astronomer, the astrophysicist named Dr. Becky, I just want to say it's such an inspiration. I watch your videos every day, and I want to become what you already are. I want to get a PhD. Sorry for being 30 years late. So, I mean, I've been playing this game for over 5 years. I know what I'm talking about. But I know when I'm going to admit I'm wrong. I mean, I probably said some goofy stuff during this video. No Space Station isn't perfect either, but it gets some of the stuff right. Anyway, this concludes the video where I ran through all the star classes, YT, L, M, K, G, Thabo, and we also touched on WR. Again, I had no script, no internet open, no chat GPT, no Bing, no nothing, no paper in front of me. I had no assistance. This was off my mind. So from what I know, the top of my head. This concludes my video. Thank you everybody for watching me rant about the subject I love so nearly and so dearly. And thank you for supporting this channel. Peace.